stop. Before you scroll past this, I need you to hear something that most people find out too late. Every single day, millions of people walk around thinking they're just a little forgetful. They misplace their keys. They blank on a name they've known for years. They walk into a room and forget why they came. And they laugh it off. Oh, I'm just tired. I've been so busy lately. It happens to everyone, right? Wrong, because here's what your doctor isn't telling you at your annual checkup. Forgetting certain specific things repeatedly on a daily basis is not normal aging. It is not stress. It is not just being busy. It is your brain sending you a distress signal. And if you keep ignoring it, that signal gets quieter. Not because the problem goes away, but because the brain starts to lose the ability to even send the warning. My name is Dr. Marcus Reid. I've spent over 22 years as a neurologist, and I've sat across from thousands of patients who came to me too late. Smart people, successful people, people who had every reason to pay attention and didn't because nobody told them what to look for. Today, I'm telling you, there are three specific things, simple daily things, that your brain relies on to prove it's still functioning at full capacity. Not complicated medical tests, not expensive scans. Three things. Things you do, or forget to do, every single day. And when you start forgetting them, that's not a quirk. That's not personality. That is the earliest measurable sign of cognitive decline. Now, here's the part that should genuinely disturb you. The number one item on this list, the one most people overlook completely, is something you probably forgot to do this morning. And neuroscience now shows that repeatedly missing it doesn't just reflect a declining brain, it accelerates one. We're going to go through all three today, but I'm warning you now, by the time we reach number one, you're going to look back at the last few months of your life very differently. Are you ready? Because your brain is listening, even if you haven't been. Let's start with something that happened to a patient of mine. Her name was Sandra, 54 years old, retired school teacher, sharp as a tack her whole life, the kind of woman who remembered every student's birthday, every parent's name, every detail of every conversation. Then one day her daughter called her. They talked for 20 minutes, and the next morning Sandra couldn't remember what the conversation was about. Not the details, not the gist, nothing. She came into my office convinced she had Alzheimer's. What she actually had was something far more common and far more reversible, but only if you catch it early enough. That brings us to number 5. Number 5, forgetting to hydrate before noon. This one sounds almost insultingly simple. I know, stay with me. Your brain is 73% water. Not mostly water, almost entirely water. And here's what most people don't realize. By the time you feel thirsty, your brain has already been running in a dehydrated state for hours. A 2021 study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that even mild dehydration, just 1 to 2% below optimal, reduced short-term memory performance by up to 23%. It slowed reaction time, it increased mental fatigue, and it caused measurable shrinkage in brain volume. Shrinkage in the brain from not drinking water. Now think about Sandra. She woke up every morning and drank coffee, no water until lunchtime, for years. Her brain was operating in a low-grade dehydrated fog every single morning, and she never connected the dots. Here's your fix. The moment you wake up, before coffee, before your phone, drink 2 full glasses of water. That's it. It takes 90 seconds, and within 3 days, most of my patients report noticeably sharper mornings. But if you're already forgetting to do this daily, that pattern of forgetting routine self-care is itself an early flag. Write that down. Number 4, forgetting names you should know. Now we move up the ladder. And this one is personal for a lot of people. You're at a family gathering. Your cousin walks in, someone you've known your entire life. And for 3 full seconds, their name is just gone. A blank white wall where a name should be. Or you're at work. A colleague you've spoken to every day for 2 years walks past. You open your mouth to introduce them to someone. Nothing comes out. Most people laugh this off. Neurologists do not. Here's why. Your brain stores names in a region called the left temporal lobe, specifically in an area tied to semantic memory, the memory that holds facts and language. When you repeatedly fail to retrieve names you know, it means the retrieval pathway is weakening. Think of it like a road. The first time it's unused, there's overgrowth. Leave it long enough, and the road disappears entirely. A landmark study from Johns Hopkins tracked 1,400 adults over 10 years and found that people who reported frequent name retrieval failures in their 50s were 40% more likely to receive a dementia diagnosis within a decade. 40%. This isn't about embarrassment. This is about the architecture of your memory starting to break down at its edges before it moves to the center. The fix here is deliberate. When you meet someone or think of someone's name, say it out loud immediately. Repeat it in conversation 3 times. This refires the neural pathway and physically strengthens the connection. Sandra started doing this. Within 6 weeks, her recall improved dramatically because her brain wasn't broken. It was just untrained. But here's what I need you to hold on to as we move forward. Items 5 and 4, they're concerning. They're real warning signs, but they're also the most recoverable. Items 3 and 2, those are where it starts getting serious. And number one is the reason I make every patient sit down before I explain it to them. I want you to think about your brain like a city, a living, breathing city, with roads, power lines, waste disposal systems, and billions of workers running it around the clock. Now imagine that city never gets a garbage truck. No waste removal, no cleaning crews, no maintenance. Day 1, it's fine. Day 10, you start to notice. Day 100, the streets are clogged. The systems are failing. The workers can't do their jobs because they're surrounded by waste they can't clear. That's not a metaphor I invented. That is exactly what neuroscience now says is happening inside the brain of someone who ignores number 3 on our list. Number 3, forgetting to protect your sleep window. Let me introduce you to something your brain does every single night. Something that was only discovered in 2013, and that most practicing physicians still don't fully explain to their patients. It's called the glymphatic system. While you sleep, specifically during deep, uninterrupted sleep, your brain activates a microscopic waste clearance system. Cerebrospinal fluid floods through channels between your brain cells, physically flushing out toxic proteins that accumulate during the day. The most dangerous of these proteins? Amyloid beta, the same protein that forms the plaques found in Alzheimer's disease. Every night, your brain has a window to clean itself, to remove the debris, to reset. But here's the critical detail that should stop you cold. The glymphatic system only operates at full capacity during deep sleep, and it requires a consistent, protected sleep window to do it. Interrupted sleep, late nights, scrolling until 1 a.m., alcohol before bed. All of it suppresses the system, and the debris stays. A 2017 study from the National Institutes of Health found that just 1 night of sleep deprivation caused a measurable increase in amyloid beta accumulation in the human brain. 1 night. Now think about how many nights in the last year you've sacrificed your sleep. Think about how many mornings you woke up foggy, slow, unable to find words, struggling to remember what you did yesterday. That wasn't tiredness. That was your brain, still full of yesterday's waste, trying to function anyway. I had a patient, Michael, 47, tech executive, proud of running on 5 hours a night, called it his superpower. Came to me because he kept losing his train of thought mid-sentence during board meetings. Smart man. Terrifying scan results for his age. His glymphatic system had been chronically suppressed for years. He wasn't just tired, he was toxic on a neurological level. Your fix: protect a 7 to 8 hour sleep window. Same time every night. No screens 45 minutes before bed. No alcohol within 3 hours of sleep. This is not a lifestyle suggestion. This is brain maintenance. Mandatory maintenance. Miss it daily? Your brain is accumulating damage right now that won't show up on a standard test for another decade. But it will show up. Number 2, forgetting to move your body before it's too late. Stay with me here because this one has a statistic that I still think about every time I see a sedentary patient. Most people know exercise is good for you: cardiovascular health, weight management, energy levels. What most people do not know is this: physical movement is the single most powerful neurological intervention available to a living human being, without a prescription. Your brain has a growth hormone. It's called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Neuroscientists call it miracle grow for the brain. It repairs damaged neurons. It grows new neural connections. It strengthens memory pathways. It is, quite literally, the chemical signal that tells your brain to survive and grow stronger. And the number one trigger for BDNF release? Physical movement. Not medication, not supplements, not brain games. Movement. A 2020 meta-analysis in the journal Neuroscience and Biobehavioral Reviews, analyzing data from over 80,000 people across 29 countries, found that physically inactive adults had a 35% higher risk of developing cognitive decline compared to those who moved regularly. 35%. And here's the part that hit my patients the hardest when I showed them this data. You don't need to run marathons. You don't need a gym membership. The threshold for meaningful BDNF release starts at just 20 minutes of moderate movement. A brisk walk, cycling, dancing in your kitchen. 20 minutes. But if you're regularly forgetting or skipping that daily movement, if days blur into weeks and your body barely leaves a chair, your brain is not getting its medicine. I watched a 58-year-old woman, completely sedentary for 6 years following a divorce, reverse early-stage cognitive markers in 14 weeks simply by walking 25 minutes every morning. 14 weeks. The brain is not a fixed organ. It is not condemned to decline, but it responds to what you give it. And what most people are giving it right now, not enough. Now, we've covered 4 warning signs, 4 daily things people forget, that signal a brain already beginning to struggle. But I have been holding back number 1, because number 1 is different. Numbers 5 through 2 are habits. Lifestyle factors, things you can adjust. Number 1 is a cognitive function, something your brain is supposed to do automatically every single day. And when it starts failing, it means the decline isn't just beginning. It means it has already moved deeper than most people realize. And the most disturbing part? Most people notice it happening and still don't understand what it means. I want to tell you about a man named Robert, 61 years old, retired engineer, the kind of man who built his entire identity around precision, around logic, around never being wrong about anything. Robert came to my office on a Tuesday afternoon. His wife had insisted. He thought it was unnecessary. He sat down across from me, crossed his arms, and said, "Doctor, I feel completely fine. My memory is fine. My thinking is fine. I don't know why I'm here." I slid a piece of paper across the desk. On it were 5 things he had planned to do the previous week. Things he had written down himself in his own calendar. Appointments, calls, a promise to his grandson. He stared at that paper for a long time. Then he looked up at me and said something I will never forget. "I don't remember writing any of this." Not. I forgot to do these things. He didn't remember the intention ever existing. That is the difference. And that difference is everything. Number 1, forgetting your intentions. Let me explain what this means. Scientifically, specifically, and honestly. There is a type of memory that most people have never heard of. It's called prospective memory. Not the memory of the past. Not recalling what happened yesterday or last year. Prospective memory is the memory of the future. It is your brain's ability to form an intention. I will do this later. Hold it and then execute it at the right moment. It is the mechanism behind remembering to take your medication at 8 p.m., remembering to call your sister back after dinner, remembering to lock the door before you leave, remembering that you were supposed to be somewhere before it's too late. These aren't tasks you forgot to write down. These are things your brain was supposed to track automatically, invisibly, without effort. And here's why this is the number one warning sign above everything else on this list. Perspective memory is not housed in one region of the brain. It requires the prefrontal cortex, your brain's command center, to work in perfect coordination with the hippocampus, the memory formation hub, and the anterior cingulate cortex, which monitors and triggers future intentions at the right moment. When perspective memory starts failing, yet when you regularly forget intentions, not just facts, it means the network is breaking down, not one region, the entire coordination system. This is what neuroscientists call a multi-domain cognitive failure, and it is the earliest detectable sign of the neurological pattern seen in mild cognitive impairment, the clinical stage that precedes dementia. Let me give you the number that should make every person watching this sit up straight. A 2019 study published in Neuropsychology Review, following 3,200 adults over 15 years, found that individuals who showed consistent perspective memory failures in their 50s and early 60s were 62% more likely to develop Alzheimer's disease within the next 12 years. 62%. Not people who had memory problems, people who kept forgetting their intentions. And here's the part that devastates most of my patients when they finally understand it. Perspective memory failure is silent. It doesn't feel like forgetting. It feels like nothing, because the intention disappears before you even realize it was gone. There is no alarm, no feeling of searching, no awareness of a gap. Robert didn't feel like he was forgetting. He felt completely fine. That is the trap. That is what makes this the number one warning sign above all others on this list. You don't know what you've lost because the part of your brain responsible for tracking it has already stopped tracking. Now here is what I need you to understand. And this is critical, because everything I've told you so far could leave you feeling helpless. It should not, because prospective memory is trainable. It is recoverable. The brain retains neuroplasticity, the ability to rebuild and strengthen neural pathways, well into our 70s and beyond. But only with the right intervention, and only if you start now. Here is what I tell every patient showing early prospective memory decline. First, externalize your intentions immediately. The moment an intention forms in your mind, write it down, not later, not mentally noted, written. This takes the load off a weakening network and keeps the intention alive. Second, implementation intentions. Don't just write "call Sarah." Write "when I sit down after dinner, I will call Sarah." Research shows this specific format. Now when X happens, I will do Y. Increases follow-through by up to 91% because it anchors the future intention to a concrete environmental trigger. Third, and most importantly, address the root causes we've already covered. Dehydration suppresses prefrontal function. Poor sleep floods the brain with amyloid. Physical inactivity starves the brain of BDNF. These aren't separate problems. They are all attacking the same network that is trying right now to hold your intentions together. Robert came back to see me 14 weeks later. He had started hydrating every morning, protected his sleep, walked 30 minutes every day, and he had started writing every intention down the moment it formed. He sat across from me again. Same chair, different man. He said, "I remembered something last Tuesday that I would have completely lost 6 months ago. And I actually knew that I remembered it." That awareness and that metacognitive clarity, that is what a healing brain feels like. It is available to you, but the window to act is not infinite. Let's take a breath, because we've covered a lot today, and I know some of what you've heard has been uncomfortable, maybe even frightening. Good. Not because I want you to live in fear, but because the right amount of fear, directed at the right target, is what saves lives. It is what brought Robert back to my office. It is what got Sandra to finally drink water in the morning. It is what got Michael to put his phone down at night. Fear that becomes action is just called wisdom. So let's turn everything we've covered today into something you can use. Starting tonight. Starting right now. Your complete brain protection protocol. Let's go through all 5 warning signs one final time and lock in exactly what you're going to do about each one. Number 5. Forgetting to hydrate before noon. Your brain is 73% water. Even mild dehydration shrinks brain volume and cuts short-term memory performance by nearly a quarter. The fix takes 90 seconds, 2 full glasses of water the moment you wake up. Before coffee, before your phone, before anything else. Do this tomorrow morning. Do it the morning after that. Within 3 days, you will feel the difference. Number 4. Forgetting names you should know. When retrieval pathways weaken, names are the first to go, but they don't have to stay gone. Every time you think of someone's name, say it out loud. Use it deliberately in conversation. Repeat it 3 times. You are not just being polite. You are refiring a neural pathway and physically rebuilding the road that leads to that memory. Do it consistently, and that road becomes a highway. Number 3. Forgetting to protect your sleep window. Every night you have a biological window to flush toxic proteins from your brain, including the amyloid beta plaques linked directly to Alzheimer's disease. That window only opens fully during deep, uninterrupted sleep. 7 to 8 hours. Same time every night. No screens 45 minutes before bed. No alcohol within 3 hours of sleeping. This is not optional self-care. This is mandatory neurological maintenance. Treat it that way. Number 2. Forgetting to move your body. 20 minutes, that is the threshold. 20 minutes of moderate movement triggers a flood of BDNF, the brain's own repair and growth hormone. It rebuilds damaged neurons. It strengthens memory pathways. It is the most powerful cognitive intervention available to you without a prescription. A brisk walk, a bike ride, dancing in your kitchen. 20 minutes, every day, no exceptions. And number 1, forgetting your intentions. This is the deepest warning sign, the quietest. The most dangerous precisely because it feels like nothing at all. When your brain stops tracking its own future, when intentions dissolve before you even notice they existed, the entire prefrontal network is under strain. Fight back deliberately. Write every intention down the moment it forms. Use implementation intentions, when this happens, I will do this, to anchor your future actions to real triggers and address the root causes beneath it. Because hydration, sleep, and movement are not separate habits. They are the foundation your prospective memory is built on. The bigger truth. Nobody tells you. Here's what I want you to carry with you after this video ends. Cognitive decline is not a light switch. It does not turn on at 65. It does not appear overnight. It does not arrive with a warning label. It is a slow erosion, a gradual dimming, a river that carves its path over years long before anyone sees the canyon. But erosion can be stopped. Rivers can be redirected. The brain, your brain, is not a fixed, fragile object slowly running down toward an inevitable end. It is a living, adaptive, remarkably resilient organ that responds to every single choice you make. Every glass of water, every hour of sleep, every morning walk, every intention written down. These are not small things. These are the difference between a brain that fades and a brain that fights. I have watched patients in their late 60s rebuild cognitive function that their families had already begun to mourn. I have seen scans change. I have seen people come back, not because of a miracle drug, not because of an expensive procedure, because they paid attention, because they acted, because someone finally told them what to look for, and they listened. You listened today. That already puts you ahead of most people. One final thing. I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. Not for me, but for yourself. Of the 5 warning signs we covered today, which one hit closest to home? Was it the names? The sleep? The intentions that vanish before you even realize they're gone? Drop it in the comments right now. Not because it's a fun question, but because the moment you name the thing you've been ignoring, the moment you say it out loud, your brain registers it differently. It becomes real. It becomes something you can act on. And if someone you love is showing these signs, a parent, a spouse, a friend who keeps laughing off their forgetfulness, share this video with them today. Not tomorrow. Today. Because the window to act is open right now, and every day it stays closed is a day the brain cannot get back. I'm Dr. Marcus Reid. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of your brain. Nobody else is going to do it for you.